Yo, guys, what's up, and welcome back to Marvelous Chats. My name is Finto. This is episode 71 of the podcast. I'm joined in this episode with Hoffman and Zaberwolf, and we're going to be going through some nerdy news from the week. Unfortunately, we've got no new content to talk about, but there's plenty of news for the week from both Marvel and DC. So, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel so you get more of our content in the future. And without further ado, I'm going to bring the boys in. Let's say hi to them. Yo.
Hey. What's up, everyone? How you guys doing?
Hello. What's up, everyone? Guys, second ever live stream on YouTube. Last week's one went off pretty well. I was pretty impressed by the numbers that we pulled. So I'm hoping that we do the same again this week.
Yeah, it felt good being live again. You know, we started off the podcast as like a live podcast, and so doing it again after all that time, yeah, it felt good. It felt good having the chat interaction, having the questions. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it feels good to be back in our roots.
Yeah, 100%. And anybody who's in the chat already, thank you very much for stopping in. If you're listening to us on Spotify, if you want to head over to our YouTube channel, you can watch these live. By all means, do. But yeah, we appreciate everyone listening. So, guys, how was the week for you? No new content, which obviously is a bit different. Usually there's something new for us to watch and talk about and break down and so on. But yeah, how was the week anyway?
It was good. It did feel weird. Like Disney has really gotten us into this rhythm of having something MCU like every week for the past like 3 months to watch, whether it be a movie or even like a Star Wars show or something. Not having anything new was weird. I was watching The Bear on FX to like fill the void of not having like new stuff to watch. And I kind of miss it, even though I didn't enjoy all of the TV shows that always come out from Disney. I'm like, oh, I wish I had something in the MCU to watch here.
Yeah, it seems like they really had like a moment of like, let's give everyone some breathing room. We just announced a ton of shit. Like we gotta let them think about it. Even put out some stills, especially for the She-Hulk show that's coming out in just a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that like they don't line it up better. Like why they feel like they need to have their shows overlapping each other, and then there's like gaps of content where there's like nothing new coming out on Disney Plus in terms of like TV shows that aren't like behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to think. Like I started watching that new Andrew Garfield show, and maybe it's not new, but it's only just got released on the FX app over here, Star on Disney Plus. And I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's like Andrew Garfield where he's playing like it's like a true crime TV show. It's like a 7-parter. I think it aired on Hulu probably, or over there in the States already. I think we're very behind on the Hulu content over here.
Yeah, I definitely have seen it. It looks really good, man. I know. Are you just sitting there like waiting for him to bust out the Spider-Man outfit, like just unbutton the shirt a little bit,
Yeah. Oh, he's a very different person in the show. He's very like he's a Mormon and he's like a detective, and it's just a completely different Andrew Garfield. Like it doesn't feel like a Peter Parker at all. But it's good. I watched the first 2 episodes. I'm intrigued by it. The cast is really good. You've got like Andrew Garfield, Sam Worthington's in it. Your man Wyatt Russell, who played John Walker's in it. Who else is in it? Oh my god, there's loads of people in it. Like you'll notice loads of faces in it if you do throw it on, and it's only like 7 episodes as well. So
sure,
7 hours, 7 hours of your life. Like I think it's worth it, and the fact that it's based on true crime stuff like that just kind of scares me even more.
I was just watching Captain America, or I'm sorry, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the Disney Plus show.
You rewatched it?
I was starting to rewatch it. I had nothing going on in the daytime. I was just
brave man.
Man. I got to see Wyatt Russell in his like outfit as U.S. agent, and man, is his head just horribly shaped for that outfit?
Especially in episode 1. I know there was a lot of memes going around when that first aired. He kind of looked like the dude from Up, just wearing the Captain America mask. But I guess it was like the whole shape of his face changed in like episode 2. I don't know if they changed the mask or they did something different, but he looked completely different for the rest of the season. But I'll never forget that first look at him, and I was just like, "Oh my god, what the hell is that?"
Yeah.
Rough,
correct me if I'm wrong. Like he just reminded me a lot of Gabe from like The Office. In the later seasons. I just. Do you guys remember him?
Gabe? No.
This was like a very tall, lanky guy.
Oh, I do know him. Yeah. He came up from Florida. I do know him. The skinny, tall dude. Yeah, you're dead. You're absolutely right.
That's funny.
Oh, that's brilliant. So, how many episodes did you watch? Are you liking it better on a rewatch or?
I only got into 1 episode. I thought I was going to put on a couple more, but I ended up having to run an errand or 2. That was unexpected. But I think the first episode of that show is actually really good, man. It's a strong
Mm.
start. And like I remember thinking that, like, man, this is actually a really cinematic feeling Marvel show that felt a lot better than WandaVision to me. You know, I really think the opening chase scene with the Falcon when he's running down the LAF people was actually really solid. Like the CGI was good. It was intense. And then, you know, they slow it down and they start to establish Bucky in the show. And I love it. Like, it's just great. It's really good TV. And I'm just ready for it to go off the rails in episode 2 and 3.
Yeah, I remember like seeing like George St. Pierre in the first episode, and I was like, wow, that was like a secret that they kept. Like, I didn't hear that leak at all, or no rumors about it at all. So I was like, wow, that's actually really interesting that they've got him in. And like that was kept a secret from us. So I was like, oh, maybe like, you know, there's gonna be some like surprises that we haven't heard about already. But the rest of the show was a bit of a letdown. There was definitely some good moments in it, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I do need to go back and rewatch them.
It was definitely with Wyatt Russell that I felt like the show took off. Like, I really hated that character. I hate John Walker, but for the fact that Wyatt Russell is playing that character and doing such a good job of making you hate that character, you know, that's exactly what you want in a show. Like I was watching Game of Thrones and I absolutely hated Joffrey. I have like no remorse for like his death or anything. Like, and it's just those moments of like, man, he played such a good character that I literally felt like I could hate this person.
Yeah, and the thing about his character is actually, I think he's a really well written character, and he got way too much hate for who his character is and how he's written and stuff. When his character really shows just the continued, the Captain America and the soldiers and armies are just like tools. They're just, they're wired to be set in one direction, do this, do this, do this, and like they're just forgotten about. And I think between Sam and I forget the first Black Captain America character, I forget his name. Between
Isaiah Bradley,
thank you. Between Isaiah Bradley, Sam, and Walker, I think there's a really cool triangle of like experience and shared experience in that U.S. like military and how they're getting used and abused. That just I thought was good. I thought it was cool, and everyone's like, dude, he killed someone. He killed a flag smasher. No. And I'm rewatching like the opening of this thing, and Sam's just straight up taking out helicopters full of people. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of, I don't have an itch to rewatch any of the TV shows, really, to be honest. And like, I know I probably should rewatch them, like, because I actually like the Christmas just gone, I was down in my girlfriend's like parents' house, and her little brother was watching Loki for the first time, and I sat in and watched like 3 episodes in a row with him over Christmas, like, and I'm just like, it actually felt really good watching them like straight away, one after another. So I don't know, maybe if they flow better if you kind of binge watch them or something. I don't know, but I think I will. Just, I suppose it's good to know. I suppose. Just
are you trying to say you want to do a Phase 4 rewatch?
Yeah, I'll do it.
I feel like we need to.
We're not even finished with Phase 4, but yeah, let's start it again.
I mean, we're coming up to it, right? Like, Black Panther is going to be the finale of Phase 4.
Correct.
So I wonder how that lines up in terms of how much, like pieces are out there for us to rewatch it before leading up into Black Panther, and that kind of be the culmination of it all, Well,
Feige did mention this at SDCC, where he had said that Phase 4 was actually the same length and content as the entire Infinity Saga, which is wild to think about. So, I mean, so much more content coming out now. It's just so stacked. And one of the things I want to talk about today is just a couple of the trademark patents that have come out. There's been more leaks. So there was leaks before SDCC. People were like, are these real or not? And then they started seeing them during the announcement that the Captain America title was one of them. And then it got announced, and it was like, oh my God, Secret Wars is going to happen. Then boom, Kang Dynasty, Secret Wars, they both get announced. And then it was like, there was a couple of more of them that were brought up. And it was like the Eternity Saga and the Timeless Saga. Because Feige had said that he has another 10 years planned of MCU. So it looks like there's going to be, we're currently in the multiverse saga, as it's being called. So we first saga was the Infinity Saga. Now we've got the multiverse saga. Next, we're probably going to have the Eternity Saga, and then a Timeless Saga, which might lead to the very end of the MCU. And then they're going to probably reboot the MCU after that. What do you think about that? Like, do you think in 10 years time, do you think it's time to just go, all right, let's just start again, or move away from the 616, go to a different universe, and then start all over again?
I don't know if 10 years is it or not. Like that would put us about like plus 20 years being in the cinematic universe. And I guess it all depends on how good these characters are that are coming out. Like if it just gets to a place where like we don't like the characters and there's not good story to tell, then yeah, that's enough. We need to wrap it up, give it some space, and then start it over again. But at the same token, I think that the Marvel universe or the Marvel comic books have found a lot of success because they've never rebooted their universe. You know, they've retconned a ton of shit for sure, but they've always just continued on the same timeline. And I think that is something that's possible. You know, getting like Steve Rogers back or getting Cap or Iron Man back is something they could resurrect those characters in some way. You know, they could find ways to pull them in from another universe or something like that to establish that, you know, those characters are still in the MCU. Because I don't think I would like them resetting and rebooting it. I would just like them to get to a place where they're recasting people instead of like killing them off because the actor doesn't want to do it anymore.
I personally, I think if they got to a point story-wise that if they actually got to the end and that was it, you know, Galactus destroys the entire 616, something happens, you know what I mean? I think if it comes to a point in the story and there's an actual end, I think, yeah, I'd be happy with that for them to just go, look, you know, there's a fade to black, and then we start like a brand new, you know, there's a sunset on a brand new universe, and we get introduced to a new Tony Stark or something like that. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Well, I mean, that gets into theories, like real life theories of, you know, what happens when everything ends. You know, does it just go back to a brand new setting? Do we get a new Big Bang and then we get new characters, or does it just all end? Like, are we going to be finished? And if they decide to end it all and they don't reboot it, I think that's fine. Especially for the fact that they could always reboot it later, like maybe give it some breathing room, be like that was its own thing for like a good chunk, wait about 5-10 years, and then be like, all right, we're going to get back into the superhero fad and do like Ultimates kind of universe. Because I know that they've been mixing it up a little bit with their plots, but that's kind of what happens in the Marvel like universes, is that you have your regular and then you have your Ultimates universe, which is like just a variant of what's going on. And I really like that. I think that's like the true essence of what, like, reading comics, is this like repetitive kind of situation of like all these characters just culminating, getting destroyed, coming back, and then like giving them some breathing room or having new characters fill in. So it's not so much that I don't want recast. It's more so I want it to move forward. And I think that's what they're trying to do too, with the Young Avengers and, you know, all these different characters that they're putting out, especially for like the X-Men 97 freshman year being, you know, and many more to come.
Yeah. I would be so sad if like everything got stopped and put to an end, you know. I would be devastated. Like, what was it all for if Galactus just shows up and eats the entirety of the MCU at the very end? Like, it's like everything we just watched for 20 years led to this like dark place that just doesn't matter, that we don't get to ride off in the sunset in a nice way. Like, I would feel devastated, man. It would be so bad.
I kind of like it. Yeah, I think it will be, you know what I mean? I think we could all shed a tear for the characters that we've grown up with and loved and all, but then it's like, let's start a new chapter, you know, and let's introduce a whole cast of new people. Let's bring back T'Challa and they could, like, you know, not to say that there's very many problems with the MCU, but like real life issues has caused a lot of the Marvel story not to be told correctly. Different studios having rights to different characters, blah, 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 blah. In 10 years time, what's to say that, you know, Sony have given up the rights to Spider-Man completely and we could do the real Venom story, we could do the real Civil War, all this sort of stuff, you know what I mean? Like, a part of me is excited to see that, but, you know, obviously a part of me will be absolutely crushed to see some of my favorite actors not playing characters anymore, you know what I mean? Like, I can't think of a world where Chris Hemsworth's not Thor. I can't think of a world where Charlie Cox isn't Daredevil, like, you know what I mean? So it's like, part of me is just like, yeah, I'd love to see it, but part of me is at the same time going, I would be really upset about the loss of some of these great characters. Like, because can Marvel hit it out of the park again with recasts? Who knows? You know what I mean? Like, who knows what the talent is even going to be like in Hollywood in 10 years' time to be hiring young guys to play Spider-Man and so on. Like, you know, it's completely unknown. We don't know what we're going to get. So you know, obviously they've hit gold now with the MCU and 616 and so on, but it's like, can they do it again? I personally think, yeah, they probably can, and maybe they can do it better, but part of me is going to always miss Robert Downey Jr. Or always going to miss Chris Evans. You know, like even I started watching Winter Soldier, the movie, last week, and I'm just watching. I'm just like, Chris Evans is like the best. I'm so sad that he's not in the MCU anymore. Like, I absolutely love Steve Rogers so much. Like, so it's just, it's hard. It's hard. But
Yeah.
again, to see more movies, of course, you know, if a reboot's the only answer, 100%.
Who knows? Maybe Disney will have like the digital thing on lockdown, and they can just recreate characters however they want.
Yeah.
10 years time, like think about that.
Just using like a young Robert Downey Jr. and just starting again, like just using his likeness or whatever. Yeah, for sure.
Jeez, that'd be so nuts.
It would. Like, I fully think that that's where we're gonna get. I think at the moment, you know, there's a lot of actors who have jobs in Hollywood right now. I think in like 10, 15, 20 years, everything's going to be digital, and it's going to look so real that our minds might not even be able to tell the difference. But you know, you'll have a young Harrison Ford in Star Wars. You'll have, you know, a young Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man or whatever, doing crossover events. It'd be like animated shows turned into real life. You know what I mean? So
right.
Like, I really think that that's how it's going.
Well, that was going to be my question, is like, how would you guys like if the reboot is a kind of just nothing but CG oriented, you know, scenes? You know, I don't know if you've ever seen the World of Warcraft cinematics, but those things look so real.
Yeah,
it's nuts. Like the details that they have on them and everything, like the looks of the humans, the looks of the orcs, and any characters that they show in that cinematic looks so fantastic. And imagine seeing that in like a 2.5 hour movie, and just Marvel based, with Marvel heroes and villains doing everything that they've ever wanted to do. You know, everything by the book. You know, like Iron Man with his repulsor rays and, you know, his beams, like everything that he can, like all the effects, everything. What do you think?
Yeah, I think with where technology is today, it will be a no for me. I just think it like, while it's very impressive what some of these like video game companies can do with cinematic trailers and stuff, I just think on the big screen you notice it. I think, like, you know, I've never been truly blown away by something like Transformers back in like 2007 was mind blowing at the time, and like the CGI still holds up today. But at the same time, you know, it's obviously, you know, it's not real. But I don't know how I would feel about it now. Whereas in, you know, 15, 20 years when we're all living in VR, like you probably won't even be able to tell the difference. You know what I mean? So right now I would say no, but you know, in 10 or 15 years, who knows?
Yeah, I think it would be like the style of it that would dictate it to me. I wouldn't want it to look like animation, but if they were just doing stuff fully rendered that looked like it was real life, I'd be all right with it. I mean, look at Endgame. You know, if stuff was taken seriously, like, you know, Thanos, right? Like, I'm good with that. That's fine. Let's all of this stuff is basically watching an animated movie anyway. It's just with like some human elements thrown in here or there, is where they've gotten it to. And if they're able to, you know, keep pushing that down to more realism, yeah, I'm probably fine with that.
Well, do you guys remember the DC Universe Online like intro cinematic?
Yeah,
that is about the level that I'm thinking of. Is that it just looks so much like it's just pulled from the comics. I'm not too certain about putting any live characters in there. I kind of just wanted all like CGI if possible, but I know that costs just tons of money because it takes a ton of hours just to do that kind of stuff. Probably takes years, actually.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember even like hearing about to talk about Transformers again, just because that CGI was kind of groundbreaking, really, if you think about it. But
yeah.
I heard that each time that they like one of them transformed from like a car into one of the Transformers, it took a whole team of CGI like artists a month to do each transformation. And like you got to think about the amount of transformations that are in each film. You know what I mean? Like it's
right.
the man hours is crazy. And I think what the problem is with doing stuff like that now is that, you know, to physically shoot something, you know, might take 3-6 months. But I think if you're to like digitally create an entire movie, it's probably going to take years, right?
Yeah, I mean, look at Pixar. They take a long ass time to make like Frozen and stuff. You know, they take about 5 years on one of their animated movies. So, but at the same time, it's probably a lot easier in some regards because you don't have to like try to blend in real life people, you know, like you don't have to try to make everything look like it did on the set, so to speak.
Just imagine. I'm thinking in it like from a business point of view. Just imagine like release schedules. Like imagine like trying to put like a new season of a TV show out every year, but it takes you 3 years to make it. Like, you know, it's that's going to be difficult. Like.
And the crazy thing is, like, you still need humans to do it because you have to get the CG, like the mocap and everything, like ready, and
voice actors,
get all
that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So I think it would still cost like as much, if not more, because of all the different technology that they have.
I think it'd be more. It would cost more.
Yeah,
big time. And I think the only thing that really, I think the benefit for them actually flipping this switch is just to use like all characters and do it properly, like kind of like what Star Wars is trying to do now with like a young Luke and stuff like that. But if you could imagine it where like in 15 or 20 years, if they try and do something like that, where it's you physically cannot tell the difference, like you think you're looking at Mark Hamill from 1982, you know what I mean? Like that's how real it will look. I think that's when it will be beneficial. Yeah, it'll be beneficial to do it then, but I still think that, you know, it's still going to take too long for them to create all this stuff.
Right.
You know, so from a business point of view, it doesn't make sense. So I suppose, I don't know. Guys, just to move on a bit to some of the news from the week. So we got the Kang Dynasty director. It's going to be the dude that directed Shang-Chi.
We got to get his name. Hold on a second.
You know that guy.
I can't think of his surname right now. But yeah,
Justin Daniel Crinton.
Yes, that's the man. The very same. I apologize, sir, if you're listening to us right now. But yeah, so like I don't know, like I've seen a lot of people talking about how, you know, the movie itself, like Shang-Chi itself, wasn't kind of received very well. Some people have been rewatching it and saying that, you know, it hits better the second time. I've watched it a few times, and I think it is a good film. I really enjoy it. I think it's probably one of the best things that we've had in Phase 4. Mm-hmm. At the same time, can this dude do an Avengers movie? I don't know. I've heard some smarter people than me talking about this, and they've, you know, said that they think that he absolutely can. So maybe now that I know he's going to be directing the next Avengers movie, he's probably started working on it now. So I'd be curious if I rewatch the movie now, like, do I see it in a different lens or something? You know, so.
I think first off with this guy, whenever we get into this weird discussion about like, can a director do this? Is Marvel really trusting the right people? We really need to remember that the Russo brothers' claim to fame before they came to the MCU was Arrested Development. Like that was what they did. They directed Arrested Development, the TV show. That was just a comedy. And then they came in to the MCU and like smoked it, like just blew it out of the water. Great film after great film. The Russo brothers never miss in the MCU.
Did you watch The Gray Man?
I have not watched it yet. I'm totally looking forward to it.
A lot of people don't like the movie. It's not. It's very hit and miss. I enjoyed it, and the reason why I enjoyed it was I completely switched my brain off. Didn't think about anything. Didn't think about the plot. Didn't think about anything. I was just literally sitting there watching an action movie, is what it felt like. And I loved seeing Chris Evans as the bad guy. I thought it was great. But, you know, I've seen some kind of like hardcore breakdowns of it, and people talk about the cinematography and all this sort of stuff I didn't even want to think about watching this movie, but people saying like, you know, a lot of it was shit. And it's like, are the Russos really that good? Like the Tom Holland movie they did was pretty good, but again, you know, it's not on Infinity War Endgame level. So it's like, are the Russos really that good, or is it just that they're working with people like Kevin Feige and all these big Marvel heads behind the scenes? So if you can watch that film, I'd love to get your opinion on it, Hoff.
Sure.
Same with you, Alex. Like if you just want to watch it in the next week, I'd be very curious, just coming off the back of this conversation, to see what you guys think of it.
Sure. I mean, I would definitely say that having MCU around them is definitely better, right? The reason the Marvel universe works is because there are so many stories already written and characters defined and what makes them great. Already built into the comic books, and something I think the Russo brothers did really well throughout every movie they did is find characters that weren't being utilized the right way and turn them into better characters. And I think the biggest one with that is probably Thor. You know, I think they gave us the best look at Thor that we've ever had. and it's because they understood what like his real motivation would be. Now, is Gray Man a good movie based on like a cinematography or his writing? I don't know, but I think that kind of speaks to what Daniel is going to do with here on the Kang Dynasty. You know, my biggest problem with Shang-Chi isn't the action of it, it's the writing. Like the act 3 of it just kind of sucked, and I thought it went off the rails, and I thought the writing got bad. But if I look at it as a spectacle, you know, this guy understood a huge production. How do you CGI and make it look great? Because every fight scene in that movie looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking at that as a director, like someone who can, you know, really visualize what you want to do on screen with these like huge otherworldly elements affecting it, he might be like a perfect director for the Kang Dynasty.
Yeah. And at the very least, we'll know that the choreography is going to look A plus. Because there was not one single moment in any of those fight scenes where I was like, man, that was ridiculous. You know, everything looked beautiful. Everything like was popping out. It looked spectacular. And I know like it actually left a lot to be, you know, desired, because I remember Hoffman and I were talking about the fact that like there should have been an extra fight scene between Shang-Chi and Wenwu.
Yeah.
Because that would have been like brought in all of the like kind of the training or like this feeling of like I need to get stronger, I need to be better, and it would have brought in a lot more meaning. But yeah, so like I do feel like in the third act, like there was a lot of weird conversations going on. It didn't really add up all together, but at the very least, everything finished well enough to be okay.
Yeah, I mean that last fight scene between Shang-Chi and his dad with the rings was like blew me away, man.
Epic, dude. Yeah, really was. Yeah, absolutely. I'm very curious to see how he's going to start directing other characters in the MCU, and like how will he deal with a team of people, you know? And
yeah,
can't wait.
And I think that almost kind of gives us a clue about maybe the direction of the Kang Dynasty and who's going to be like the real leaders of the MCU moving forward. Where like the Russo brothers took care of the Captain America film, and then they brought them into the Avengers film, where Captain America was like really leading the way. Like he was like the main character in all those movies, right?
Yeah.
Leading the team. So does that mean that Shang-Chi going forward is kind of going to be like one of the main, you know, leaders of the Avengers? Because his director is the guy who like got brought on to do this movie.
Maybe. I don't know how I feel about that, but yeah, maybe.
I mean, I think it would be nice because then you could kind of put this character forward. I think Shang-Chi needs a little bit more like of a foot forward for this, because he seems like a really awesome character. And I want him to be fleshed out a bit more. I felt like there wasn't enough of him to go around during the movie. So like I'd like to see more of that, because it kind of like the movie itself, I felt revolved more around everything that happened, you know, with Wenwu, and just Shang-Chi having to deal with all the things that Wenwu did. But also like family and whatnot. And it just kind of went all over the place for a bit. And we really didn't get to know Shang-Chi. We just had to go on the journey with him for a second and just like finish it.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely feel like I want more Shang-Chi too. I just picked up the kind of relaunched the #1 issue of the new Shang-Chi in the Marvel Comics, and I want more of that character. Like for whatever reason, maybe it's because you know he's just growing on me the more I've watched that film. But I definitely do want more of Shang-Chi.
Yeah. Yeah, aren't they? Did they announce a 10 Ring series? Or, I don't think it's officially in the timeline like phase, but I think there is a 10 Rings show perhaps, or maybe a movie coming. So we might get
They've
more of
always
him.
kind of
I
like
presume we'll get more of
rumored,
him.
right? They've always rumored that the 10 Rings are going to be like a huge deal in the MCU, and they've never really been that. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't know what they would do with the TV series or a movie, but you know, it'd be fun.
I think it'd be interesting to find out that, you know, the sister has started up the 10 Rings again, and, you know, maybe she's not using them for good like she said she would. And then Shang-Chi finds out about it and, you know, goes to potentially take them out again and has to fight his sister. I think that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, that'd be
bit
fantastic.
of an obvious storyline, but I think it works, you know?
Yeah.
And I think some of the speculation that we had was that the 10 Rings were like Kree tech as well. Because they couldn't really do anything with Fing Fang Foom. Unless they decide to change his like character look, or maybe see if they could change like his background or something. But in the meantime, I think that's the speculation, is that, you know, we're dealing with Kree tech right now.
Yeah, and definitely dealing with something that's cosmic at the very least, because I feel like there's a lot of similarities between that and what was going on with Miss Marvel and her, the bangle on her arm and stuff. I think they're going to tie those two things together for whatever the future of the MCU is right now.
One quick question about that: were there two bangles or was it just the one?
I don't even know, bro. I'd have to go rewatch that show, and I don't want to.
I think they were looking for a second one, but they only found one. So they had mentioned that they had found one. And I think you had a prediction, Alex, that she would find the second one and then it would like give her all of her powers. I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. But they obviously didn't do it in the end.
You think Captain Marvel found the second one and she was touching it? And then they swapped places?
Perhaps. Because I know in the comic books, that's what they're for, right?
Yeah.
Because there is bangles in the comics, but they're for that reason. They're for them to kind of swap places. So maybe that's how they're doing it. Be interesting. Interesting. Bit of Fantastic Four news. So apparently Feige had said in an interview during the week that they're not going to do an origin story for the Fantastic Four. They feel like it's kind of like on the kind of almost on the same kind of level as like Spider-Man and Batman and stuff like that, where it's like everyone kind of knows the origin story. So do we need to tell it again? Probably not. So I think what they're trying to do with the MCU version is see, can they do something very different to kind of have an impactful start for the Fantastic Four, but for it not to be an origin. So I think we've been kind of speculating about this for a long time now, where, you know, maybe they've been lost in the quantum realm or something like that, and they're actually they are from the 60s or 70s or whatever. I think maybe that's, from what I'm hearing of what he's saying, it kind of sounds like that could be what he's talking about, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've had a lot of success with not running origins before. Like Spider-Man never really had an origin story in the MCU, as we know. I don't think Black Panther really had a true origin story either. He just kind of hit the ground running in Civil War. Yeah. And then they told us a cool story in Wakanda with his, Black Panther.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's like needed. But I also think that the Fantastic Four movies, like the last one was so terrible, and the ones before that were so long ago, that I actually think a origin movie for the Fantastic Four would totally be warranted and totally work. But you know, I do get it if they don't want to tell you again how Ben Grimm got his powers. It is kind of like, oh god,
it's pretty tragic.
So I don't know.
I think, like I would have to say that that Fantastic Four what year was it? 2010 something. It was that. Was it like 2004? I feel like it was 2004 or something, but it didn't respect anything about the Fantastic Four at all. It just wanted to make this weird, like we were young kids kind of situation. And they did Doctor Doom so badly that I wanted them to scrap the movie. It was just so horrible. Like, it wasn't fair. Like, you don't do that to Doctor Doom. Like, he's a beloved villain. It's like Magneto. You don't fuck with Magneto. Like, you just let them be their characters. And I think that not having an origin would be fine, because then they could just kind of have the characters already fleshed out from the background. And we've seen that in certain comics, like, in Werewolf by Night, I believe that in the later comics, you'll actually get an introduction to Moon Knight, but you never knew his origin until like he had his own series. But that's how they introduce characters. Like, I think like with Spider-Man, after Spider-Man had a few runs with this comic, like he had some characters just jump in and be like, who the hell is this guy? And then eventually they come out with an origin. So that's kind of what happened with Tom Holland's character, if you think about it, because we started with Spider-Man already having his powers, already, doing what he can. And then by No Way Home, we get I would say an unofficial like intro, because that's not really an origin. It's more so like a kind of like a rehashing, in my opinion.
True. Dr. Doom definitely needs like the respect given back to him of what happened in these Fantastic Four movies. And I think like he almost needs the origin story more than the Fantastic Four. Which in Black Panther, apparently Dr. Doom has already been chosen, and he has already filmed his scenes for Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, which is very, very exciting. To know that we're gonna get Doctor Doom in that movie.
So yeah, I've heard that there is a Doctor Doom in the movie, but I've heard it's like a stand-in. They don't actually have an actor, so you'll see the suit, but you're not going to actually see the actor who's playing him. So maybe he doesn't even have any lines. It might just be a guy walking out in the suit, the comic accurate suit, and then that might be it. So yeah, that's interesting. Because I know there was a leaked image that none of us should probably be talking about, but there was a leaked image of a dude that you could see the back of his head, and then he's like looking at Doom, and it looked like kind of concept art or something like that. But then I saw another behind the scenes picture from the Black Panther 2 movie, and it was the same dude who was in these that concept art. It was the same guy. So I'm kind of thinking like, oh.
Yeah, I seen that. It looked like a previs shot or whatever. We were talking about it last week. Doctor Doom is definitely one of those characters who we do not need an actual actor for. He's a Darth Vader-like character where we just need someone in a great suit and then someone with a great voice, just doing it later on. They do not need to cast a Doctor Doom based on looks here. Which they probably will, because that's just kind of the way Hollywood is. They don't really like Darth Vader-like characters anymore, as been seen with like Mandalorian and stuff and the Master Chief. But I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see Doctor Doom, and I'm excited to see actually how they introduce the Fantastic Four. Like without an actual origin story, are they going to be hiding in the quantum realm? Are they going to be coming back from outer space on like a mission that they got trapped on or something?
Yeah.
So.
I would love like something like oh my god, Interstellar or something, you know what I mean? Like maybe they went to a planet where time moves differently or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I love Interstellar so much. It could be my favorite movie of all time. No joke. Like I absolutely love the film so much. So yeah, I wonder if they do something kind of like an Interstellar vibe in the MCU, I would lose my mind. I think that would be fucking fantastic.
Yeah,
literally.
Yes. Got him. Guys, let's talk a little bit about the X-Men. Did you hear the news this week about the contracts? Did you hear about this?
I heard about this, but please.
So for anybody who didn't hear about this, so basically it's come out that there's contracts that are still valid from Fox to a bunch of the actors who played some of these like iconic roles like Magneto and so on, so that these guys, basically what these contracts, they're in place till 2025. And what that means is that the MCU cannot recast any of these characters until 2025. So for example, if they wanted a new Wolverine, they can't do a new Wolverine until 2025. But they're still allowed to use the same actors, which is why we've seen Patrick Stewart, is why we've seen, the likes of the other Spider-Man showing up and so on. But we've seen like the likes of Charles Xavier already, because he was the Fox actor. So if they wanted to put in like a new Professor Xavier, they're going to have to wait till 2025 to do that. And I think it makes a lot of sense why we haven't heard any X-Men news yet, because they're being forced to shelve it. So yeah, like I'm very curious to see what's going to come around now after Secret Wars. And I think they'll use to get as many X-Men in as they can. Until that point, they're probably going to try and use as many existing characters as they can, which is why they had like your man Evan Peters showing up as Quicksilver, and you know what I mean. So I think they're going to start using the likes of Hugh Jackman if they can get him, or Michael Fassbender or whatever. Like, you know,
I mean, bring in Michael Fassbender, like shove him in there.
I'd love to see him, bro.
Give him all the money, get him here, do it.
Would love to see him. Yeah, be fantastic.
I would be surprised about like what this is, and like who has these contracts that last until 2025, and how much it would be for them to buy them out of it. Because those are all things that are possible. Like, I don't think Hugh Jackman has a contract to keep him uncastable until 2025, when he was already talking about like not wanting to be the character anymore, and like it was time for him to move on because like he's just getting old. He's tired of being in shape all the time. Like he was good with laying it down. So I would be surprised who has his contract. So like I could totally see them bringing in like a Wolverine.
Yeah, I think it's just it's not like something that was like specific to Hugh Jackman, for example. I think it was just everybody got this contract. It's like a likeness clause or something like that. So they have to keep the character in place for so long, which is why we got a recast of Mr. Fantastic, because the last like what was his name, Miles Teller, did the last kind of iteration of him, and that was in 2016, 2015 maybe. So like the 5 year gap or whatever had actually, or 7 years or whatever it is, had run out.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, I think it's something that they all saw, like that was just part of the stipulation. It was part of the clause for them. So I don't think it was anything specific to specific actors. Like, it doesn't mean that Jackman's gonna come back, but I think he will anyway.
And I'm sorry, go ahead, Alex.
I mean, to be fair, like all the cast of the X-Men so far, I feel like they've been hitting it out of the park. I haven't felt like any of the characters like were terrible. I just think that the plot was terrible. Like when they did Apocalypse and they did like Phoenix, like that, those were terrible stories. Because I really liked First Class. I love Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
So they clearly have the stories, like they can have them locked down, but they didn't. But like all the actors did a fantastic job.
Yeah. They did, but like the stories really did just get like worse and worse and worse. But you're right. It was really, really well cast. Like it was a fantastic cast of people. I mean, First Class gave me such excitement. Like I was like, oh man, like they finally got people who feel like the X-Men. Like they got this right.
They got Kevin Bacon.
Yes. Right. And it just kind of fucking went so downhill, especially with Apocalypse. And they would always have, in credit scenes that they never paid off and stuff like that. Like it's just a bummer. And I really hope it doesn't affect the MCU going forward, but I don't know how much it will. If you look at the Phase 5 loadout, everything looks pretty stacked. Like the schedule looks full in Phase 4, and then Phase 5 is starting in 2025. So like how much do you think that actually affects what they had planned going forward?
I mean, it just you're right, man. Like thinking about it now, like there's so many different things going on. I guess like it would just cost a lot to bring them back. And maybe shelving it for the time being and waiting until 2025 for the contracts to end would be the best thing to do, especially like for money, because it's all based on money. Like they're not waiting because they want a different actor. They're waiting because they want to be able to pay people differently.
Yeah. And maybe they're using Secret Wars as the way to bring in the X-Men. That's why they got 2 Avenger films in 2025. That could be the way that the X-Men get fully introduced when everything brings it together. I could totally see it happening. And I also think like the MCU, I could totally see them feeling like the X-Men are a separate entity to the MCU. That they're part of the MCU universe, but they're not part of like the Avengers universe. And we talk about having the next 10 years planned out, and is 20 years going to be enough? The X-Men is so deep and so separate that they could completely set up the X-Men like they did the Avengers and just have those two things running parallel to each other. And I would be there for every movie because the X-Men are my favorite books. I love that series. I spend way too much on the X-Men comic books. I pick up like way too much. So I would totally be excited for that. And I just it's a bummer that they can't have them yet because of the 2025 contract, and it's interesting, but I don't think it like blows up their plans too much.
Yeah. I think you could do an entire phase just on X-Men characters. Like you could do a Wolverine movie, a Xavier movie, Magneto movie, different TV shows, and then end it with a big movie at the end. Just call that movie X-Men. Like I think that'd be fantastic. Yeah, we see the origins of like Xavier starting up the school and so on, and you do like a kind of First Class thing. And yeah, like honestly, I'd be around. I would watch all of it. It'd be fantastic. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's just like, bringing Krasinski in, for example, for Multiverse of Madness. I think if they didn't have these contracts, they probably would have put in the person who's going to be Reed Richards for the MCU. I don't see why they wouldn't. So I don't know. Maybe like they're using this as a kind of testing ground or whatever, and then they'll do a full kind of reboot of it.
Yeah,
that makes sense. I don't know.
I would 100% love to see a show called X-Men Brotherhood, where it's just all about Magneto's like building up his team.
Yeah, that would be fucking amazing, dude. Like, I think one of the things that have been really unexplored in X-Men movies is the Brotherhood and how strong that is, and how they're not completely wrong. Like, maybe they have some really bad motives, but they're not completely wrong about what they think.
Right.
I have to just mention something that just popped up in the chat there. So Liam made a comment about me not watching the X-Men 90s cartoon, and thank you. And basically, I watched the first 6 episodes of it this week, and when I threw them on, it like sparked back so many memories. So I definitely have seen a lot of it, but I can't put my hand on heart and say I've seen every episode of it. But I will have seen every episode of it before the 97 cartoon comes out, guaranteed.
I threw out a couple episodes of it myself, and dude, it's so bad.
Oh, it's like watching the first episode, I'm just like, wow, there's like Sentinels in episode 1. I'm like, this is crazy.
Oh my god.
It's poor, but it's great as well at the same time.
I totally forgot that like Morph was like an important character, like in the first couple episodes too. Like, right?
Oh, yeah.
And Wolverine, like you see the guilt in them and stuff.
Oh,
Like,
they're devastated. They think he's dead.
Yeah.
I know, dude.
I forgot this Rogue's phrase sugar or hun?
Both, I think.
Yeah.
I've heard her say both. I've heard her say both. But I love Rogue in that show as well, because like she's like such a badass and she's really strong and she can fly and everything. And it's like they didn't do any of that with Rogue in the like Fox movies. Like she could just touch people and take their powers or whatever, or kill them.
Yeah, I mean, that's why they discussed about the way they were going to start introducing the X-Men into the MCU. It was like Rogue being in Captain Marvel, because that's how she gets her powers to fly and be strong and stuff, is because she steals the powers off of Miss Marvel. And that is totally abandoned, probably because of the 2025 thing, because they can't have the Rogue character in the MCU in the Captain Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Man, I like, in addition to that, and I know you're probably gonna laugh, I was rewatching the Incredible Hulk show, like the animated series.
Of course.
And I agree, same thing. It's terrible. It's one of those things of like Hulk smash, Hulk crash, like that's just all that's going on.
Alex, it never changes. That's been the Hulk for 30 years.
Yeah, that is Hulk, right?
But that's what I love about the Hulk, is like he never changes. He's just always himself.
I kind of miss that Hulk in the MCU. I'm really tired of this like well thought out Hulk Dr. Banner mix that we're getting, the Professor Hulk. I am so tired of it. I just want Hulk to come back in and fuck shit up. I just want him to walk into a city and start throwing cars.
I would love that. I would love for him to just like separate, go back to his original savage self, and just for some reason be angry.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, just speaking about the Hulk, did you see the latest like trailers for She-Hulk? They kind of they show how she gets the power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which I thought was quite interesting, because like obviously that's a big change on the source material, right? Wasn't she sick or something, and there was a blood transfusion that gave her the powers originally?
I thought she got shot.
Yeah, she got shot. So in the original comics, I believe she was still a lawyer at the time, and she had gotten people arrested or something, or she had gotten into a car chase, and then eventually like she gets home and Bruce is like, "Hey, I got to tell you something, cousin. Like, I'm Hulk." And she's like, "No, you're not." And then all of a sudden, the thugs come in, like as a hit, and like they shoot her, and they get away. But then he does a quick blood transfusion, like emergency. She hulks out, and she goes to catch the bad guys.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting how they're doing like the car crash, but Bruce is in the car with her, and she gets like a bit of his blood in her or on her or whatever, and that kind of gives her the powers. So yeah,
that might work the same way. Like if they don't do the transfusion properly, I think it's going to be weird.
Yeah, well, it looks like car with Bruce Banner. What the fuck?
It looks like she does Hulk out for the first time at the scene. So I think she's gonna immediately turn in. Yeah, she's gonna immediately turn into She-Hulk because she gets Bruce's blood on her.
Right. How did you guys feel about the stills, or not the stills, but the the animations of when she kind of tries to scream, because I've never seen that really in the comics. Like they kind of like beautify her, so when she does shout, it doesn't look as like menacing. So in this one, like you can actually see like the kind of the inside of her lips as she's like trying to shout, and it looks a little menacing.
Yeah, I mean, I do read like the current run of the Avengers, and the She-Hulk that is in that version is not like the sexy pinup girl style of She-Hulk. She is a beast. So it
Berserker
looks,
mode.
yeah. She's a thick girl.
Yeah.
And it's better, it's fun seeing her rage. But like hats off to their CGI. They definitely are like getting it better before they launch it. Like, man, it's inching close to passable.
Yeah, no, I think it looks good, and I think, I liked seeing the fourth wall break in the last trailer, and I think the banter between Bruce and her is going to be very good. And then obviously we've Charlie Cox and Abomination and Wong, and like there's going to be a lot going on in this show. Like I saw someone, I don't know if it was a TikTok video or something, but like this dude was like, there's potentially going to be more people in this show than there was in a movie called The Multiverse of Madness. So like there could potentially be more Marvel characters in the She-Hulk TV show. So I think it's being slept on. I think it's going to be massive.
Well, and this is the crossover that you've like desperately wanted, Finto, right? Like you've been wanting some sort of crossover going on, whether it be Daredevil, whether it be Punisher or Spider-Man, just having the characters that we know that exist within the area be like, hey, I'm going to help you with this, or hey, I'm against you on this, something.
Oh yeah, like, and I think this is what built the MCU into the universe that we love. Like that's what we love to watch. We love to watch all the crossovers. So it's fantastic to see that they're getting back to it.
Yeah, I'm nervous about it. Like the reason I'm not sleeping on it, or I am sleeping on it apparently, is like I think it gives off huge rom-com vibes, and that is not my favorite style of movie. They give her a lot of like early 2000s like one-liners, that sound like it's like She-Hulk in the city. I don't. And I'm just kind of like
female lawyer.
Yeah, like am I gonna love this? I don't know. Like, But I think one of the MCU strengths is that they are able to take genre movies and apply the superhero overlay to them and make them kind of feel a little bit elevated because of that. So it might work for it, or I might just dislike it. We'll see. I'm kind of getting the same vibes I did with like WandaVision, where I'm like, oh, I think a lot of people are gonna love this, but I just think that I'm not gonna be one of those people.
I think all I'm hoping for, Hoffman, is that you give it a solid C. Like even a C-, I'd be happy with that.
Nothing that Marvel has ever come out with has got less than a C from me. I'll say that. Like Loki was the closest because it let me down so hard, but everything has been, pretty good.
I think Miss Marvel for me is my biggest letdown in the MCU.
Hater.
Yeah, sorry. It just really wasn't for me,
Yeah.
And not at all. And like I think I know they brought like Brie Larson in for 10 seconds, literally. But like, if they had brought in Scott Lang and, Captain Marvel and stuff like that, and maybe Wong as well or something, like, like just to bring it into the MCU a little more, I might have tolerated it a bit more. But so much of it was just like, oh my God, I don't care about this at all.
Yeah. Like Miss Marvel, it started off so well. I thought the dialogue was fun. I thought the chemistry between the characters was great. And I thought most importantly, the cinematography was really creative and really fun.
Yes.
And then it's like every episode has just got like lazier and lazier and lazier with the camera work and setting up shots and stuff. And just to a point where I'm just like, Whoop.
Yeah.
All right. Well, should have been a movie.
Amen. Did you hear that the Spider-Man animated series freshman year is officially going to be not canon and not in the 616?
Let's go, baby. Yes.
I'm happy with this.
Thank God, because I was so confused by what the hell's going on. I'm like, how's Norman Osborn in this? And how is he fighting Scorpion? And, Doc Ock when he's never heard of them in No Way Home and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's, and again, I think this just kind of falls into multiverse saga, right? Where it's like, this is just a story from the multiverse. Same with What If and all this sort of stuff. So, I think it kind of ties to that brand of what they're doing, where they're trying to just, branch out into the multiverse as much as possible.
Yeah, it's interesting, like because like they did. It's just a cartoon show, but it feels like they're bending over backwards to like let people know that this isn't, canon. But if there's a Spider-Man cartoon show on TV right now that like comes on Saturday mornings, it's not everyone's not like jumping over tables like, oh, this is canon. It's a TV show, it's a cartoon show, and not everything needs to be canon. And I'm glad they're going this route because it will give them way more room to
Freedom.
to do what they want.
Yeah. And that's what they need, I think, especially animation. You can just go off the walls, like, and it's just you don't need to kind of tie down to any sort of like baseline at all. You can just like have an episode that's just fucking nuts, like, and then go back to just like a bit of a storytelling episode, and then the next episode doesn't even have to tie into the rest, and it could just be absolutely wild, like, like, there's just there's such a kind of relaxed like viewing experience when it comes to animation. Like, you don't have to believe anything that you see, so they just have such freedom that I think it'll be great to see some Spider-Man stuff. And especially if we're going into like freshman year of like high school where he's so young and he's going to have his first suit and stuff like that, and we're going to get to see some proper kind of like origin Spider-Man stuff, but in animation. So, they could do all the crazy shit of him catching cars and doing backflips and all this cool stuff that we don't really get to see as much because it's very expensive to do in real life.
Do you think we're gonna get like a legit Flash as a bully kind of situation?
Hopefully,
because as we've seen with the Spider-Man Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home, that's not my Flash.
I hate that Flash, bro. I could beat the shit out of that Flash. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, Flash is supposed to be this dude who's like so menacing that like Peter can't beat him until he gets powers or whatever. Whereas like there's no fear in that dude whatsoever. I'm just like, this guy's a pest. I hate him. So yeah,
I mean, I think in the later comics, so like I think Peter teaches him a lesson in a sense, or like uses his powers to be a jerk, but then it like gets Flash to realize that he's been too much of a jerk, and he has like kind of redeems himself in a sense.
That's great.
Yeah,
it should happen. Yeah, I'm excited for that because like we might get to see like a Venom story.
Have we seen any trailers for this at all, or
no, nothing?
I'm very curious about the animation style. Like, how cartoony is it going to be? Are they going to do more of like an anime look, like a la the DC universe, how they do their stuff? Like, I'm very curious about that.
Yeah. I don't know how it's going to go.
I just sworn they released, or was it from the X-Men 97? No. They released a freshman year. Like, they had a few stills of the characters that they're going to show. And I don't know if you've taken a look at that, Hoffman, but it looks it almost looks very 60s, like 60s, 70s, maybe. Kind of like that old school look.
I've seen those stills, but I don't know if that kind of is an indication to what the animation is going to be like for the finished product.
I wouldn't see why not. I think it's a nice change of pace, especially from everything that we've like had so far. I wouldn't mind seeing this kind of scheme, because I like the 3D effects from What If were good, but they weren't like great because we all had an issue with like the way that the characters looked or the way that some animations like fleshed out. So to see this as like an old school kind of style, I think it's going to be fun.
I like that. Yeah, I did enjoy What If. Some of the episodes weren't as good as others, but I did enjoy the idea of it. I enjoyed the format of it. I hear the same dude who voiced Peter Parker in What If will do the voice in freshman year.
Okay.
So it's maybe it'll be closer tied to What If because of that. Like, I don't know. But if the drawings of what I've seen, I think you're right. It looks kind of 90s kind of animation style, like what we saw in like the X-Men stuff, and that would kind of make sense as well. If they're doing X-Men 97, I presume it's going to be the same style. So if they kind of match it to that style, it'll feel like we're watching a continuation of the 97 stuff maybe or something. I don't know.
Cool.
I just love the fact that you see the still of Doc Ock and it's just his goofy look, that goofy suit with the bowl cut.
Yeah, love it. Love it. I love that Doc Ock, dude. Love it. Guys, we got to move on to a bit of DC news before we get out of here because we're live an hour already. Ben Affleck is back, baby. Batfleck is back.
How is this happening?
Did you hear what happened? I will explain it to people in the chat or people who are listening to us on Spotify, just in case you don't know what's going on. And just a quick shout out to anybody who is still listening to us at this point. Big respect. Thank you. So basically, what happened during the week was there was a Warner Brothers like studio tour going on. You know, where they have those little like tour buses that go around the studio, and it's like, oh, there's where they film Friends and blah blah blah. So basically, they were doing a tour around Warner Brothers studio, and out of one of the studios popped fucking Jason Momoa and Ben Affleck walking out together, and they kind of just stopped, and there was a bus like just literally parked right outside the door, and a bunch of people taking pictures. Oh my god, it's Ben Affleck! And then Jason Momoa decides to just say, fuck it, yeah, let's just announce it. So he's kind of like, oh, the secret's out. We tried to keep it a secret, but it is what it is. So then he started posting about it on Instagram and stuff like that, and there's like videos that have leaked about it and everything. So
what a work! I don't believe that at all.
Yeah, so I don't know, like I've got different like kind of thoughts on it, but part of me thinks that I think this is a publicity stunt after everything that happened with Amber Heard and the movies. Kind of, there's like 5 million signatures on that petition to get her removed from that film. So like that's potentially 5 million people that are going to boycott and not go to see this film. So I'd say Warner Brothers are like, we put a lot of money into this, and we need to kind of revive this somehow. Oh, I know, everybody loves Ben Affleck as Batman, and everybody loves the Snyder Cut, no matter what we tell everybody else. So let's just bring Ben back. And I think what they said, because I don't know if you pay attention to, there's a kind of like leaker out there called Grace Randolph. I think she works in the business and stuff. She has a lot of like interesting kind of leaks and stuff that come out. But basically, she had said that they had heard from Ben Affleck that he's doing this as a favor to Warner Brothers. It's not his like return, or so called. I don't think they're going to redo or change what happens to him in the Flash movie. The Flash movie is meant to be the end of his arc as Batman, and I think that will continue to be the same. But from what they've heard is that he's stepping in as a favor to Warner Brothers to do a cameo in this film, and his cameo in Aquaman 2 is going to replace the cameo that was meant to be in the movie for Michael Keaton, because Keaton showing up in Aquaman, which is now being released before the Flash movie, would just make absolutely zero sense. People are like, what the fuck is Michael Keaton doing here? Whereas if it had all gone to plan, the Flash would have been out first. We would have seen everything that happened to Ben's character and Keaton, coming into the DCEU, and then it would have made sense for him to pop up in Aquaman. And now I think what they're doing is Ben's going to step in, shoot some scenes. They're going to get rid of Keaton or move his next appearance onto something else, because I did hear that he signed like a multi-movie deal with Warner Brothers for multiple appearances of Batman. So it's not as if they're going to say, okay, actually, sorry, Michael, we don't really need you. See you later. We're going to go with Ben instead. I think they have like contractual obligations to actually use him. So
what a shit show.
Yeah. Like I think it's great that Ben's going to step in, it's cool. It's cool that it's happening, but I don't think it's a kind of permanent thing. Now, what's to say that by the time, Aquaman comes out and if Ben does a couple of amazing scenes and then, they get to the Flash and it's like, actually, do you want to stay? I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to turn it and that he would kind of hang on. Who knows? We'll have to see what happens, but for the most part, I'm happy. I love Snyder's vision of these characters. I love Ben as Batman. I love Henry as Superman. Gal's good as Wonder Woman, and even I like Ray Fisher even as Cyborg. Like I don't like Ezra Miller. We're probably done with him now. So, but the rest of the characters, I love them, and I think it would be great to see them. And I think Ben put up something about, like, did he mention? I think he mentioned something about like a crisis event or something. And I think maybe now this is what's gonna potentially be what they're moving towards, kind of like what Marvel are trying to do with Secret Wars. Maybe DC are going to try and do the same thing. They're going to have like Crisis on Infinite Earths, where they're going to potentially bring back all of like the Snyder characters and have a Snyderverse versus the DCEU, which will be like a different universe. I think that'd be absolutely epic. Who knows?
Dude, my head is spinning.
Yeah, well, just think of it like Marvel, where they do like Secret Wars with like different planets coming together. It's kind of the same thing. The CW tried to do it. It was kind of interesting having different versions of characters that you've been following for years popping in, like an evil Green Arrow was in it and stuff. And you're just kind of like, oh my God, it's great to see, but at the same time, like different versions of Batman trying to fight each other or something. Like I would love to see that. Like that'd be incredible, and like, if they do an Infinite Earths thing, like you could bring Pattinson in and have Pattinson standing beside Affleck and like Michael Keaton, like, you know, just multiple Batmans. Like, I'm excited, bro. I think it could be cool.
I don't even know what to think about the DCU. First off, shout out to the Marvel Cinematic Universe for not casting any extremely problematic people like Ezra Miller or Amber Heard. They've not had to deal with any of this bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, I when I initially heard about it, my thought was, oh, they're gonna bring Batman into the story to replace all the Amber Heard scenes. Like, he's gonna be fighting, you know, next to Aquaman instead of Amber Heard, because
that would be so cool, bro.
It would be
so cool.
And he's kind of a character that fits Aquaman's movies. You know, he's broody, he's dark. He's the one that came and found Aquaman to put him in the Justice League in the Snyder films. So his character kind of like fits showing up. I think it's kind of sad that if they're replacing Michael Keaton in this movie, just release the fucking Ezra Miller. Just release it. Like, I don't know how you're gonna dodge this. Just put it out silently on HBO Max.
I think that's what will happen. It's gonna go, it's a straight release to streaming, as far as I know. Or
they have to like get Zack Snyder in here because he is a wizard at replacing people in movies, and they just need to have a new Flash actor cast and somehow make the movie work around that, like having a new person.
Well, I mean, they did that with Iron Man 2. Remember with Don Cheadle? Like, everyone was like, "What the hell?" But then it's like, okay, we just accept it. It's just a different character.
Oh, I mean, like, actually,
this is different.
Digitally put someone in the movie instead of Ezra Miller
because they shot the film.
Yeah, because they did that with that zombie movie that Zack Snyder did. He had Krista Lee in the movie. He went through some problems, and so they had to like digitally remove him and then have another actor put into all the scenes that they filmed later.
Bro, I was so impressed by that, because the first time I watched that movie, I didn't know any of that had happened. And then my mind was blown when I saw it was like, she didn't shoot any scenes with anybody. It was all kind of green screen, and she was just plopped into the film. And I was like, wow, that is impressive. It's impressive.
Zack Snyder is like the George Lucas of our age when it comes to like digital media and like being able to like work with CGI and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you've also said before, Hoppin, that in Peacemaker, wasn't it that I can't remember his character name.
Oh yeah, who was the ninja guy? Oh man. Well, Peacemaker was such a good movie. Vigilante, there we go.
Vigilante.
Yeah, that actor got replaced and they put him in. It wasn't like he was digitally in there for the first 4 episodes.
That's so cool, dude. So cool. So yeah, look, I don't know, man. Like, you know, I've said this on the podcast many times. Anyone who's listened to us for a while, like, I'm a big Snyder fan. I started watching Man of Steel the other day. Just I had a bit of time to kill. And I just wanted to watch the start. I love the start of the movie. Like what's his name? Not Kurt. Is it Kurt Russell? Not Kurt Russell. Who's plays his dad again?
Oh,
Russell Crowe. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
Zeus.
Yeah. So, like, you know, he's playing Jor-El in the movie, and it's just like, he's so good, and I just love that scene where he's like saving the oil rig and stuff like that. Like, it's just epic, bro. Epic. I just love Snyder's vision for Superman, and I know some people don't agree. Some people think it's too dark, and, you know, Superman should be all hope and all color and all great. But I thought it was fucking fantastic, because I think, you know, a character like Superman would be alienated and would feel alone, and it would be a dark existence because, you know, you're alone, you know. So it's like, I think Snyder captured that perfectly, and I just love that film.
Yeah,
love it.
Even then though, like, there have been moments in that movie where I realized that, you know, during the fight between Zod and Superman, they blasted through a gas station and it exploded. So whoever was running the shift that day is gone.
Oh, like, they meant people that would have died in Metropolis. Like, you know, what I loved about Batman versus Superman was, like, when they first introed Ben as Bruce Wayne, it's like he was there during Man of Steel, like in Metropolis, watching it all kind of fall and burn. And I just thought that was like such a great idea to connect those two stories, but you just didn't even know when you were watching Man of Steel 3 years before that, like, Bruce Wayne was down on the ground watching all that happen, kind of going, okay, I'm coming out of retirement, I'm putting the cape back on for this shit. Like, you know, I was like, this is fucking epic, bro. This is like a comic book. Like, I'm like, this is amazing. You know, so like, that's just, for me, like, I've always had a special place in my heart for those movies.
Mhm.
And I would just love for them to just say, look, fuck whatever happened in real life. Fuck all the old management. Let's get, like, with Discovery coming in. It's like, these movies work. They made us a ton of money. There's a massive fan base for them. Let's just go with it. What have they got to lose? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
they talk about like scrapping the Snyderverse, but like any movies that they have right now are still involving Snyder's characters. Like, so it hasn't been scrapped. Like, just go for it. Like, I just don't understand.
What's sad though is the fact that with the whole Ezra Miller thing and the Flash situation, like I know that like Batman brought in Aquaman and like there's a good rapport between them, but like the true rapport is actually between Flash and Batman. Batman never says it, but he respects Barry. Like in the comics, you find out later on that like Batman is like would say that the only person he ever truly thought that was better than him was Flash. Because he was just that one of a kind character that just could do no wrong in a sense. Like he just had this aura about him that Batman loved.
Yeah, Barry in the comics is a genius. Like, he's up there with Bruce as one of the smartest humans. Like, so it's like, yeah, and then just his power is just incredible. Like, the fact that he can build treadmills that allow him to, run to the future or run to the past or all that sort of stuff. Like, it's so yeah, like it's massive respect that Batman has for the Flash. Yeah, 100%.
He builds treadmills that let him go to the future.
Yeah, so he runs on these cosmic treadmills, they call it, in the comic books, and basically, like he charges them up, and it gives him like the power to open up portals and run through the Speed Force, and he can like direct the Speed Force to where he wants to go. So if he wants to run to 2050, he just chooses to do it, and it's like it's kind of like Thor with the hammer. Like it's a thing to focus his power. Kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
okay. It looks ridiculous, but it's cool.
No, it sounds
ridiculous.
It does sound ridiculous, but if you think about it, it's like a guy like with super speed, like charging up a device like to focus his power. Like it kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
I don't know. We just watched Thor use a Viking ship with flying goats. So I'm like, is it that crazy?
Flying wasn't that well received, though, to be honest.
This is true. Do you guys have anything else from the week that you want to bring up, or does anybody in the chat want to bring something up? I don't really have anything else.
I don't think so. I mean, not having new content, just coming on like the tail end of San Diego Comic-Con. There's not like big news coming out. I'm excited for D23 coming up. I don't know if it's when that takes place exactly, but I would love to do an episode on like predictions for D23.
Yeah, you'll know when it's coming up because it'll be all they're talking about a week before. So yeah, definitely the week before that we'll do some predictions and the chat can get involved if they want, and I think that'd be good fun. Also we have She-Hulk coming up very soon. Andor is going to be very soon. The Game of Thrones show will be very soon. So it's like I know it's a bit of a dry spell right now, but I think maybe even next week we're probably going to have some new stuff out. So.
Yeah,
it's exciting times coming.
Yeah, the only thing that I would say is noteworthy is that apparently they spotted in the She-Hulk footage a poster that said Johnny Blaze.
I saw that. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
What?
Thank you, Google. Yeah, ghosted in the chat. It's September 11th. Unfortunate day.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Yeah. Not a great day there. Yeah, not a great day there, isn't it? They're like, we're gonna take the stigma away from 9/11. We're gonna have D23 on 9/11 now.
Nice.
Yeah, look, it's like 21 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it looks like August 17th is when She-Hulk is launching, right? So we got like 2 weeks until that, really.
Mm-hmm.
D23 is in the beginning of September, and then Black Panther is coming out November 11th.
Oh yeah.
So like. Pretty much it, man. What, like, when is there anything else, or is that really it for the rest of the year besides Andor?
I think all that we're waiting for now is just more announcements, and then we'll see what comes up. I know we're not talking about it, but the Groot shorts, which I think they've released
next week. I think, are they? I think it's the 10th of August.
And I think they released how long they're going to be altogether. It's going to be about 20 minutes.
Yeah, like shorts, like Disney shorts I actually watch a lot of Disney shorts with my kid, like, and they're only like 3, 4, 5 minutes long. Like, so I wasn't expecting those shorts to be any longer than that, just the way Disney do this. So yeah, that's not surprising to me whatsoever. But I think that's good in a way because it's kind of it's just short little bursts. Because like I don't think I would have the focus to sit and watch 25-minute episodes of Groot going around. He doesn't even speak. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, how long can you watch that stuff for? You know, like while it's funny, I don't think you could hold an audience for 25 minutes a week, like for 10 episodes or whatever they're doing. So I think that's the right call to do that. To make it that length, I think is the right call. Big time. I heard a rumor or read about a rumor during the week that apparently John Bernthal has come to terms with Disney. So, you know, his character's always been up in the air. Are they going to bring the Punisher back? And Bernthal himself had said in an interview that he absolutely loves the character, would love to be Frank Castle again, but he said he's not going to do it if they can't make it the way he wants to make it, which would be the way that the way that Netflix made the show. So for him, it's kind of like, you know, he doesn't want a PG-13 version of Punisher, and I don't think anybody in the world does. So I think now with them kind of doing TVMA stuff like with zombies and probably Daredevil as well, I think they've closed the deal with John for Punisher, and I think that'll be one of the announcements of D23 Punisher series.
Good.
That is pretty exciting.
Yeah, we need to keep it as like. I know it's crazy that it's gruesome, but like that's Frank Castle. He doesn't care.
Fuck,
he has no regrets.
Hell yeah. And like, you know, imagine Punisher showing up in Blade. Imagine Punisher. I heard rumors of him potentially showing up in Armor Wars. You know what I mean? It's like this stuff makes sense.
Yeah, I really think Blade is able to do a much different take on, you know, it's vampires. You can do anything with vampires. It doesn't have to be blood. Like they could be dust. They could have just have straight up like black blood instead, and they could get away with a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think if they're throwing around TVMA ratings, Blade will get a TVMA as well. I would be almost. I'd put money on that. You know, I think they realize that there's stuff that they need to do. That's, you know, Daredevil, Punisher, Blade. You know, this content, Deadpool, all that content needs to be TVMA. And I think they like, you know, there's no way that they don't know that. You know, they have to know that. And I actually I read today that Feige had said in an interview that he wants to make Deadpool 3 as good as Ragnarok, as good as, you know, he wants to put that much care into the movie that it's going to be an MCU blockbuster. So the fact that he's putting that much effort into something that we know for a fact is going to be rated R at Disney is massive. That's massive.
I don't know if it should be as good as Ragnarok. Ragnarok was kind of like, it was a mixture of funny. Like it was mostly funny.
Well, I think he just means the level of like success and the, like, you know, the cult classic that became Ragnarok. They want to put that, like, they don't just want to make Deadpool 3 because they have the rights to do so. I think they want to actually make it a staple, like a foothold in the MCU, which is epic.
Makes sense.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. I mean, Ragnarok was fucking amazing, dude. A lot of people give a shit for being too funny nowadays, but like if I go back and watch it, I still think it's one of the best action movies ever made. Like it just, the pacing is incredible.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I can rewatch that movie. I can rewatch it once a month for the rest of my life. No problem. Yeah.
I just don't want them to overdo it like Taika Waititi did with Love and Thunder. Like, you know, just pushing it.
They've learned from a mistake, I think, with that.
We had to go that far to reel back in the entire MCU.
And I'm kind of grateful in a way that it was Taika that did that, and you know that it didn't happen in something that's a more
like the Russos.
Yeah, or like, you know, like
the Russos get smudged.
But you don't want that to happen in an Avengers movie.
Right.
You don't want an Avengers movie to flop. You know what I mean? Like, you know, so I'm kind of happy that it happened in Thor. And like, as much as I love Thor, and I know you love Thor, Hoff, but I would prefer for something like that to happen in a Thor movie where, you know, the first one, I love the first movie, but again, it was kind of not received too well. Second movie wasn't received well at all. Again, I like it. Ragnarok was the savior of the series of movies, and now this one is just bad again. So it kind of feels like Thor is very hit and miss. So I would prefer for it to happen there than there to be like a Steve Rogers Captain America movie that would just like shit the bed, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like I don't want to see a director's cut of Thor: Love and Thunder, but I think I would like to see another director's cut of Love and Thunder. You know, because there's like 4 hours of good footage in there that they put together. And so I think like someone could come in and pull it together in a slightly more serious tone. And just have elements that we know are that were shot that need to be in there. You know, apparently Disney like had a hard line. They wanted a 2-hour movie. But like, you know, just adding in things like more gore scenes would do wonders for that movie.
Bro, and like it's been in my head ever since I heard it, but the fact that Natalie Portman and Christian Bale both said that they shot some amazing scenes for the film that weren't in it. That's just always in the back of my mind, like, what could the movie have been? And to be honest, I would watch a 4-hour cut of the film, even if it was full blown with Taika Waititi on fucking smack. I'd still watch it because I'd be curious to see his full vision, and I'd be curious to see what these scenes are that were left out.
Yeah. I mean, we know for a fact from set leak photos, there's a whole scene of Natalie Portman getting the hammer and being lifted up into the air. There's footage of her from the set being lifted in the air in front of the hammer at New Asgard and like transforming into Thor. That would have been amazing to see.
Yeah, like that annoys me. We didn't get that.
I don't know why they were trying to make that a mystery. Like, oh, did she just become Thor? Like, we fucking know. Like, we know.
They literally
cool scene.
They literally like held our hand and said, "Look, we're going to Asgard. We're gonna look at the hammer. It's gonna resonate. And oh, what's gonna happen next?"
Oof.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. Like, it seems like, and I said this when we were reviewing that film, but like, we obviously knew that she was going to become Thor, but at the same time, I kind of like, we see the whole scene that with her at New Asgard, and then the next time we saw her, and I knew it was coming because of the trailers. They released way too much, as they always do. But the second that we saw the attack on New Asgard, I'm like, oh my god, we're actually going to see Jane right now as Mighty Thor. Like, I was like, it's way too early. Like, way too early.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with the whole like too much information situation, because like I asked Katie, and Katie was like, yeah, I really didn't need to see in the trailers that, you know, we see Lady Thor. Like, it would have been great to have seen it in the movie, being like, oh my god, we actually see, you know, the character's face and like their design as a surprise. But because Disney wants to showcase it for some reason, like, you have so much of Thor, you can showcase Thor throughout the trailer and then just still have that be a mystery.
Yeah.
I mean, it all comes down to like Bob Jacob. He's a marketing guy. He's a business guy. And I think, you know, we've seen the clips of Kevin Feige getting annoyed that too much is getting revealed in the trailers and they're not holding enough back.
Yeah. Yep. It's true.
Bummer. What a bummer.
Yeah.
Guys, I think that's it for the week.
That's 71. It's in the bag.
Yes. Guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're listening to us on Spotify. Follow the podcast. Turn on the noti bells. And we'll see you next week.
Later, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Later.
See you.